dust, debris, house is flying everywhere, air conditioner in the yard.
An explosion levels homes in Pottstown, Montgomery County. 4 people are dead, 2 are hurt, 2 more are missing today. Officials plan a news conference soon as crews continue to work the scene. Good afternoon, I'm Dane Murray. 69 News at noon starts right now.
Your life, your world, your news. This is 69 News, live at noon.
And we'll start this noon off down in Pottstown where that explosion happened. At least 3 homes were destroyed in that blast that was heard and felt miles away. 69 News talked with some neighbors who saw it all go down. Reporter Ali Reid joining us live once again in Pottstown as we wait for that press conference to start. Ali, you have been there all morning long. What is the latest on this investigation?
No, I was just saying Matt Levine's team.
Right, Dane. So essentially, we are going to be taking to a press conference momentarily here. We know at least 4 people have died, 2 have been taken to the hospital, and 2 are unaccounted for at this point this afternoon. And we are expecting that update in just a few minutes here. Right now, the Pottstown School District is reporting that 3 houses were destroyed in this situation. Now, again, last night is when this all happened, just after 8 o'clock, immediately following the explosion. Neighbors ran outside to see smoke and debris essentially everywhere. Minutes later, agencies from all across the region had responded. We know Pennsylvania State Police and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives were there through the night and into the morning. People nearby lost power for multiple hours as the explosion knocked out homes almost immediately. Neighbors say they think that was the reason it was so hard to call into 911.
We tried to dial 911, but 911 didn't pick up. It just went to a busy signal. It literally rang. When I came outside, it was just a ball of smoke rising up, and a couple neighbors were standing there because everybody was coming around so close and stuff, and everybody was just, you could see fear, terror, all mixed emotions.
We were talking this morning about the possibility of that they want to set up a fund. So the churches were all here with us last night to make sure that people had clothing and shelter. And as a matter of fact, one of the churches, from what I understand, put everybody up at a hotel last night. The Red Cross showed up. But, in times of disasters and tragedies like this, community is extremely important.
So now it's all about that cleanup and help for those impacted by this horrible disaster. Officials say they're hoping over the next few hours that they'll get a fundraiser in place to help those that may need it here, whether that be shelter, clothes, or food as well. Meantime, the Red Cross was on scene yet again this morning, working with a number of families to help them get immediate assistance. Now, we do see that some people are here behind me ready to start this press conference. We're going to go ahead and toss to that, and I'll check in with you guys as soon as this has been completed.
All right, Ali, thank you so much. Again, as she just mentioned, a press conference going to be happening shortly. You can see people already up at the podium. It looks as though we are still awaiting some officials to give us those details on what happened, an update. Looks like they're just about ready to start. Let's listen in.
We're going to have to wait for the train. Where'd you go? Is the train coming or what? It's slow. I guess you get behind the train station. They're sitting. All right, good afternoon, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. You guys all ready? Okay. So this is our second update since the update that we provided last night. I'm Justin Keller, Pottstown Borough Manager. With me is Fire Chief Frank Han, Police Chief Mike Markovich. We'll also have likely some state and local elected officials joining us here for their support as well. So to begin the briefing, on Thursday, May 26, 2022, at 8:07 p.m., Pottstown Fire Department, EMS, and police were dispatched to the area of Hale Street and Butler Avenue for a house explosion. Emergency services arrived on the scene to find a house that had exploded with multiple victims needing medical care. At our 11 p.m. briefing last night, 4 fatalities were confirmed. Unfortunately, this afternoon, that number has increased to 5. An additional 2 victims are receiving treatment at Regional Trauma Center. 1 is critical but stable condition. The other currently is in surgery for unknown injuries. We had also reported that 2 people may have been accounted for last night. However, to update that, based on preliminary information from the investigation, we now believe that everyone has been accounted for. So again, I repeat, everyone has been accounted for is what we believe. At this time, we kindly ask that you respect the victims and families during this difficult time and give them the space that they need. Right now, I know there's going to be a lot of questions on this, but this is an active investigation. Right now, we are unable to provide additional information on the victims as the family notification process is still ongoing. Additional information will be provided by the police department and the coroner's office as soon as it becomes available. Representatives from Pottstown Police, Pottstown Fire Department, and EMS, as well as Philadelphia Arson and Explosive Team, the Pennsylvania State Police, Fire Marshal's Office, have been working throughout the night and this morning to determine the cause and origin of the explosion. The investigation is ongoing, and we do not have additional details to provide at this time. The lead agency for this investigation is Pottstown Police Department, and they will provide updates when available. This is still an active emergency scene with numerous life safety hazards. We would ask that all members of the community avoid this area so that the investigators can continue their good work. Red Cross representatives are at the Pottstown Senior High School, 750 North Washington Street, to assist the displaced residents. We've received an overwhelming response from organizations and individuals looking to help. At this point, we do not think we need further assistance with displaced families and otherwise. We do thank you for your support and prayers for the victim and families and your offers to assist. We will let you know if we need any further assistance from the families. At this point, we can open it up for any questions.
The neighbors say they smell gas constantly up in that area, including within the last few days. What do you know about that?
That's something that we're still looking into, and I'm going to let the professionals at the Philadelphia Arson, the ATF, and state police determine that.
Well, did the fire department have frequent calls to that address? You must know that much. Did the fire department go there for gas calls?
Again, this is still an investigation. We're still looking at that information.
Were there any 911 calls before the explosion reporting any sort of gas odors or hazardous chemical odors, anything like that?
I don't know that I have that record in front of me.
Are the 5 fatalities from the same family?
That's unknown at this time.
Are they the same home?
We're not sure.
How many people are currently displaced because of the explosion?
Well, we had a lot of people that were actually able to find shelter with family and friends. So the number that was displaced and that's actually with the Red Cross, it's not too many. I mean, I want to say a dozen. It's somewhere in there.
You mentioned remaining life safety hazards. What can you speak more to those? What are the remaining life safety hazards?
Yeah, I'll turn it over to Fire Chief here, and he can update on that.
So, as everyone knows, it's an active scene, and if you've seen the scene, it's pretty devastating up there. So the people that are working in those areas, we need to make sure everything's shored up so that the firefighters and the investigators can go in and make sure that, you know, we're definitely doing a double check to make sure there's no more victims. but B, they're actually doing an active investigation, and we need to make sure all those the guys are working in there and girls have a safe environment. It's almost like a big trench. You know, if you see a trench incident, you always see the platforms, the trench platforms. That's what we're doing. That's why it's meticulous and it's slow.
Are there any air quality concerns?
None that I know of. PICO's been up there and taking care of that.
Chief, how would you describe the force of the blast here? How would you describe that in looking at this scene?
It's pretty devastating. It's hard to describe, like, in words where, you know, was it the biggest one? Not in my career, but, you know, it's a pretty big event for Pottstown that how big the area is of the blast.
Do you think it comes out of one of the homes or the second of the homes? Do you have any idea?
In all honesty, I've been there since the beginning. We're still slowly getting into the building to make sure that we know exactly what happened. It's meticulous. It's, you know, there's a lot of technology being used to see what's going on. So for us to say anything about what we know and what we don't know wouldn't make sense to talk about right now.
Are your message to other families in Pottstown worried about their safety?
I would say no. We think it's an isolated incident of that house.
Our understanding was that one of the homes was boarded up, the other one was occupied. One, can you confirm that? And then two, were there any nuisance calls for the boarded up home?
So I haven't had a chance to, like I said, I've been all night. I haven't had a chance to look at our records. I mean, once we get something together, we can probably, you know,
Does the borough manager know? You know?
Yeah, again, I mean, we haven't had a chance to really dive deep into our records at this point.
So
we're just trying to get through the investigation.
Have been occupied? I guess I'm just asking if the one was sealed up and the other one was occupied.
I'm not sure. I mean, in all honesty, it's not a neighborhood. We're up there a lot. So, you know, to say one was boarded up, one wasn't, I mean, there's nothing left up there for us to look at.
Any nuisance calls about that, though?
I'd have to look. I mean, in all seriousness, and we haven't had a chance to look at anything, you know, any of the records or anything like that. I mean, we've been going since 8 o'clock. I mean, everybody here has been up all night.
Did you say you're up there a lot or you're not up there a lot?
I don't know. We're not up there a lot as the fire department for routine calls. It's not an area where we have a lot of issues.
Do you know if they were rental? This was a rental, or they owned that home?
I really don't know. Like I said, we've been up all night. We haven't. I mean, I don't have any notes. And
Evan,
go ahead. Evan, you got a question?
Are there any say adults or juveniles among the victims?
We really don't want to say right now because nobody's been notified.
What's the official count of how many homes were actually destroyed?
Right now, we have about 8 that we're looking at. 2 of them are definitely destroyed. But our L&I department and ATF people have their engineers going through the houses.
2 up to 8.
2 completely destroyed.
Yeah, 2 completely destroyed. The other ones have damage that we're assessing. You know, these could be cracks or broken windows, but trying to make sure that the structure of those buildings is sound. So for right now, until we can complete that under daylight, that's where we're at with that.
Are there gas lines, underground gas lines that run up in that area?
I'm sure there is. PICO was marking stuff out, so I'm sure there is.
There are. You think there is?
Yeah.
And why do people have big propane tanks up there as well? The talk is it's a very large propane tank, at least on the home that exploded.
In all honesty, I've been into the dwelling that blew up. I saw the tank there, but I don't know what it was for. I mean...
So there was a tank?
Yeah, there's definitely a propane tank there, but we don't know what it was being used for or anything. The ATF has actually reached out to the propane vendor. So, you know, and again, I got to read it with everyone here. We haven't had a chance to look at a lot of things yet because the ATF, the whole scene is being documented. We can't really get in there until all the pictures are taken and all the measurements and everything that have to be done for a blast. So
the tank is not destroyed. You actually saw the tank?
Yeah, the tank's there.
I know you're early in the investigation. I mean, do early indications point to a gas explosion, or are there other alternatives?
We have to look at everything because, like people are saying, there's gas up there. We have to verify if there was gas in that house or not. Was the propane being used for something else? You know, we don't know. Like I said, even the ATF, we haven't had a chance to even debrief with them yet. So, thank you.
What do the coming hours look like for the responding?
Excuse me?
What do the coming hours look like for your team and the other teams that are responding?
A lot. So, Our fire department got there really quick last night. They've been there all night. We had a lot of assistance from mutual aid throughout the area that came up to help because it's a long, drawn-out process. You know, a lot of people don't go to work for 8 hours and work as hard as our police, fire, and EMS do. So we were constantly rotating people in and out.
Did today's severe weather impact this investigation?
Yes, it will. That's why we're kind of rushing around. The documentation is taking a lot of time right now. If we get it documented, then the police and the ATF can move forward with their investigation. So the fire department's there just as a support role in making sure everything's safe and secure for everybody. So it's going to be a little bit, especially with the weather.
Are the houses that are being looked at, are they livable or unlivable to the point where they can't stay inside?
Right now we have nobody staying there. We're not letting anybody in. We need to bring engineers in and verify what's going on.
The whole block?
No, I don't think it's a whole block. Probably maybe 10 homes in the region, 9 houses.
Is it considered a crime scene right now?
All incidents like this, fires, we treat them as crime scenes until we can verify that there was no foul play or anything like that.
Chief, have your people
Thank you, everyone. That's all the time we have for now. Thank you.
Have your people spoken to neighbors, and what have they said to you folks about leading up to it?
Thanks. We appreciate you guys coming out, but that's going to be all for now.
Will there be another update today, or?
Probably not today.
Chief, spell your name.
We will be putting out a press release when we have more information. We don't know when that'll be out. Okay. Thank you.
What's your first name?
So again, we just heard from a number of officials that are continuing to report on this situation that happened last night into the morning. Just want to give you some key details of what they shared with us. We do know at this point, unfortunately, that there were 5 fatalities in this situation. 2 victims still remain at the hospital. They say one is in critical condition but is stable. The other is in surgery for unknown injuries at this time. We'll continue to follow both of those 2 still in the hospital. Now, initially yesterday they were saying that 2 other people may have been unaccounted for, but officials are saying at this point this afternoon that everyone has been accounted for that may have been missing or that they were still looking for last night. Now, they did say again this remains an active investigation, and a number of agencies are still really working to determine the cause and origin of this explosion. Whether or not it was a gas explosion, we still do not know the answer to that. Now, neighbors say they could smell gas leading up to the actual explosion, but again, that's all up for speculation at this point. They did confirm, though, that there was a propane tank at the home of the explosion. Whether or not that had any impact, we still don't know any idea on that. But officials say that going back to the scene and continuing to go through the debris today, they were actually able to locate that propane tank. Now, they also said that this definitely destroyed at least 2 homes, but they are looking at up to 8 homes that have been damaged because of this situation. Now, the lead agency in all of this is going to be the Pottstown Police Department. They're asking that the community avoid the area at this time. They're saying that to listen to the news, to watch everything on social media as the updates continue, but to please avoid going to that scene for the time being as they work to get the latest information for themselves. Now, officials will let you know if further assistance will be needed from families, as now at this point the Red Cross is working with different families to be able to help out in any way that they can, as well as local churches and other officials that are helping at least 7 families, possibly 20 people at this point, or potentially more. So they say again, if any fundraisers are going to happen or any other information of how you might be able to donate money, clothes, food at this point, they say to stay tuned on that. Again, all Pottstown schools are closed for today for students and staff. And again, just recapping just the basic information that number that we were reporting initially as 4 fatalities has unfortunately increased to 5. We will have continuous coverage throughout the evening later on tonight. So stay with us, stay up to date on WFMZ.com and on air as we bring you the latest information. But for now, live here in Pottstown, Ali Reid, 69 News. Back to you, Dane.
All All right, Ali, thank you so much. And obviously the Pottstown Police Department and the fire department, they were saying that they're hoping that the weather holds out a little bit so they can continue that investigation. Kathy is standing by now. Kathy, we're expecting rain today. This is going to hinder their investigation.
Yes, absolutely. We are not going to be weather friendly for those folks down there. Our prayers go out to them. Right now, let's get to the chase, folks. We've got a lot of clouds out there. A cold front is moving in. We've got hot, sticky air mass coming in, and the Storm Prediction Center has a lot of us at a slight risk for severe weather. Also a flood watch in effect through tonight. Now let's take a look. We have the possibility of some isolated and very isolated tornadic activity. Hail is a possibility, but mostly high winds, 60 miles an hour, flooding. Yeah, we could see an inch or an inch and a half. Here we go, folks, for this afternoon. It's going to be moving in very quickly, and about an hour and a half, 2 hours. It continues throughout the evening, overnight, as we head down to an overnight low of 64 degrees. We still have to get through an upper level trough that's going to be moving in Saturday morning into Saturday afternoon. And I think that most of the day will be dry. So you may want to have a backup plan if you've got some outdoor activities for Saturday evening and Saturday afternoon. As far as the rest of the holiday weekend, I've got updates and good news in just a few minutes.
All right, Kathy, thank you so much. Ballistic experts take the stand in the trial of a man accused of kidnapping and killing a co-worker in Monroe County. Experts testified about a series of homemade guns found in Michael Horvath's home. They say if they fired a bullet, they would not make marks that can be identified. 2 bullets found with her body could only be identified as coming from a .22 caliber weapon. Horvath says he didn't kill Holly Grimm, back in 2013. The defense is expected to begin its case soon. The trial is set to last through Wednesday. Animal cruelty and weapons charges were filed against the owner of a Hunterdon County, New Jersey farm animal rescue. Investigators say they found 71 neglected animals in poor living conditions there at Rooster's Rescue Foundation in Raritan Township. It's owned by 52-year-old Michael Featherston. He was the one charged. Several dead animals were also found on that property. The weapons charge came from an assault rifle that investigators believe to be a ghost gun. Officials say horses, cows, goats, and pigs were given to various rescue groups. The 20th Freddie Awards were back in full force last night. For the first time in 3 years, students were able to accept their awards on the State Theater stage, including the night's big winner.
And the Freddie goes to Bangor Area High School.
Accepting for Bangor are Charles Fossil and Evan Finkbeiner.
You heard it right there. Bangor took home the top prize for the night for their performance of Les Miserables School Edition. They won 6 awards last night, the most of any school. Phillipsburg High School and Liberty High School followed with 4 Freddies each. The ceremony was full of performances from other schools, including the big final number. To see all of the award winners and acceptance speeches, head to WFMZ.com. We'll be right back.